Where was I?
What's up, everyone who has been a fan of Pilled or the Brolic or me yelling at my TV screen playing the Yankees? We're doing something different today. Gonna be doing a Liberated Men's Live with the founder, Joshua Rodriguez, Master Joshua.
Hello, folks. Hi, Instagram. I know it's not the best view up there because it's a wide.
It's okay.
Let me do this. Let me do this.
What's important is they hear our words.
There we go. All right.
Um,
So I just kicked off on Twitch, and I wanted to jump on because Evan's a good friend of mine. We've been connecting since the beginning of this year in the Liberated Men's group that I host weekly. He's supported. He shows up. He's helped out. And we've been able to connect over men's work, which is something that I've personally been wanting to do for quite some time. And being able to meet in person and really sit down and get into the nitty gritty of what these conversations are has been a lot of fun. We were just talking, so it was like, why don't we just jump online and have this conversation so people can hear what it's like for men to invite men into deeper conversation? Because it's like that's what I've noticed about this stuff is I think because on some of the posts that I've put up, a lot of the posts that I've put up, there's a lot of hurt people out there. There's a lot of hurt women out there in particular.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's not their job to invite men into better behavior.
No, it's not. The onus cannot be put on the demographic that has certainly been harmed significantly by men. We must find it within ourselves. I spoke with my friend about this yesterday because he was saying that, being in a relationship can sometimes, a good woman can bring the best out of a man. And I'm like, it's true, but make sure it's not her responsibility. It's not her responsibility to do that labor. He needs to do that labor internally and then with that person. But
When you
it can
say
never
labor,
fall
when you
on
say
her.
labor, what do you mean by that?
It's multifaceted. I mean, having done the work, there are mental aspects, there are physical aspects. I think some form of therapy is important. It doesn't have to be traditional talk therapy if that's not for you. But even like attending, not that your group is an official, therapeutic certified thing, but even some sort of support group regularly, because men are carrying these burdens and they've been carrying them many times for years, maybe their whole life. And you don't want that burden that is just raw and unfiltered and unaddressed to come into your relationship. You need to work on that yourself and with some sort of, I think, care for your mental health.
There's a comment on Instagram that says it happens in gay relationships as well. Yeah,
I'm sure.
100%. A lot of the men that I speak with, ultimately, it's like maturity and how am I showing up, and the roadblocks in what's prevented me from getting there. I was speaking with someone the other day, and the idea was like, men are born with knowing all the answers, and it's like all we're doing is taking advantage of the system. And it's like, nah, I was lost for a long period of time.
Definitely not born with all the answers. We may be looked to for answers, right? A lot of times we're supposed to be the one with the plan. We're supposed to be the one that knows the directions. We're not supposed to be lost, right? Literally or figuratively. But that doesn't mean factually, in actuality, we are not lost. I think that's the confusion that some people have, saying that we have all the answers. It's probably that people look to us to lead many times, and we haven't done a lot of the work. You actually talked about this. What was that line? It was a verse from the Bible. You said something about like not being prepared, but being given or having the experience. What is it?
So, if I'm correct, it was about getting too much information too soon.
Yes. In this case, I'm also including responsibility too soon. Responsibility or being thrust in a role that society. You talked about this a bit about deconstructing the notion of male privilege in one of your previous ones, that it's not like, yes, men have advantages in certain aspects of society. That's well known, but it's not some all-encompassing privilege at all. And you were
Yeah.
talking about kind of
I said my privilege is my vigilance from having to fight since I was 5.
right. Like I think the thing you said at the end, that's the real truth, is any sort of privilege that men have comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Like I always say, we don't get to make cute mistakes. Ever since I was a kid, you drop something, you're clumsy, you're unathletic, you do something, any sort of mistake. As a man, it feels like an embarrassment in front of other men, in front of other women. You don't just get to laugh at it. Since I was a little kid, like, oh, you're butterfingers. That's a nice way, PG way to say some of the things I grew up hearing. Like, oh, or or you're soft. Of course, that's the classic one. But we don't, since we're kids, we really don't get much leeway in like making mistakes and not knowing what to do. That's why I'm saying I think people look to men to be leaders even before they're necessarily prepared to lead.
Yeah. It's like you have to. You're only as good as you can function.
Hmm.
And if I can't function, what value do I have?
Yeah, if you can't function with, especially within what society wants you to function as. Society certainly wants men to function in a certain way. I mean, you've talked about this a lot and what it means to be a man. That society has expectations.
There's a societal expectation.
It has expectations, and I'm not saying all of them are fair, but this is the world we live in.
Yeah.
So I think there is a balance between doing those expectations at your own detriment and
What would you
foregoing
say?
them altogether.
What would you say societal expectations of what it means to be a man is? And then I'm going to ask you how was that presented to you?
Sure, no, it's important. I think societal expectations of men, like there's so many, but as I mentioned earlier, to lead, I definitely add to provide, and as you know, we can deconstruct what it means to provide, protect, and we can deconstruct what it actually means to protect. Um, I think to be the dominant force in a relationship, which I know in the kink community has different connotations.
When you say, what do you mean by that?
But I think in the general, it's kind of like the one who has the final say, the one who, the quote is, who wears the pants in the relationship. That's very much catered towards this notion of the man is the one that should lead, the man's the one that wears the pants. Making the final decisions, being the person that is, again, the protector and the provider, and therefore should be respected in a certain way, but not, I think, not necessarily equal respect. I think almost fulfilling those societal things. If you feel you've done those enough, I think a lot of men feel like they kind of deserve, an extra level of respect or deference. Deference is probably the word. A level of deference in the relationship.
Because there's a lot in that, right? It's like there's like, well, what about lesbian couples?
Right.
Right. And the power dynamic in there, masculine, feminine, who's leading, who's making the choices, and then I know I'm going to continue with the layers.
But for men, I'm only talking about like people who identify as men.
Yeah. No, but the reason why I bring it up is because we're talking about societal expectations,
right?
And some of it sounds like it's been told to you that this is what it is. Do you think some of that can exist without the toxicity?
I actually do. I think you can be a provider, a protector. I think you can be a person who is dominant and assertive without, I mean, more in your community how there is ways for consent and being on the same page and boundary setting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for people even who aren't in the kink community, you can be a dominant presence and I've certainly had relationships where it was preferred that I lead, but I never took that as this person's not my equal. They're still my equal. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're more comfortable with me leading and like always planning the date. Obviously, many times with sex and intimacy, that can mean the person to initiate. It can mean the person who should kind of know what to do in certain situations, which again, earlier with having all the answers, I always felt as a man, I was looked to have, especially if I'm with women, I was looked to know what to do.
Mm.
I was looked to know where to go. Like in one of my first relationships, I got kind of lost in Manhattan because I grew up in the Bronx and there's a lot of parts of Manhattan I didn't explore, and she did. And she was like, she stopped after a point and said, she turned around, like we were holding hands, and she went, "But I like it when you lead. I want you to lead." And I said, "No, it's fun. You're taking me places I didn't go to." Like to me, this was. So you said, "Who gave me these things?" Like I didn't feel these things like naturally.
Yeah.
I felt them through my experiences. That's interesting. I grew up with a single mom, had a much different experience. Yeah, I think single moms can, of course, yield different experiences because sometimes the mom feels like she may need to be the father and the mother. You know, she may feel like she has to make the son, extra masculine because there's no father present. Someone was talking about growing up with a single mother.
Yeah.
Sex isn't even a, I don't know what that means. That's interesting. Yeah. And especially financially. I think yes, especially financially, men are expected to lead, but this is interesting now. We're in a different spot in the world, right? I'm someone who recently has been unemployed for a long time and it was very difficult for me to find work. And a lot of men are having difficulty finding work.
This is
And
actually how we got into the topic of
yeah,
streaming.
yeah. So like, I think the financial burden. Do you know about the term hypergamy?
No, but let's pretend I do. But we're gonna ask for the people who may not know on
Okay.
Instagram.
If hypergamous relationships are generally, it's generally put towards women who are marrying up socially and economically.
Gotcha.
And I think it's a little overblown. I think yes, there are some women, because a lot of men who I think kind of veer into some of the sexist parts of the manosphere think that that's all women care about, and I completely disagree. I think
I disagree. As well.
there's a lot of women. Look, if you are if you're only trying to date certain women of certain classes in the Upper East Side, yeah, but go to Jackson Heights, go to Fordham. Many of the women didn't give a fuck if I'm making six figures. In fact, some women I was even able to laugh at about being unemployed because they went through the struggle too. They knew it. All they wanted to see is a man working hard and trying. And there are women out there that value that still. But I do think culturally in the US, we are kind of worse. I found a lot of the women that I identified with the most about being working class and not making a lot of money weren't in the US for a long time. Like they came here as immigrants and kind of maybe because of that struggle. So I think there's also different people are encountering different types of things depending on the groups that they're dating and the circles they're dating.
Yeah. One of the things that comes to mind is discernment.
Mhm.
Right. It's like as you were talking about, not all women are like that, and I wholeheartedly agree. I actually think a lot of women and are in their masculine because there isn't safety enough to be in touch with their feminine,
Mm,
right? And it's like
that's a bar.
so there's the layers are women don't feel safe.
Mhm.
They stay in the masculine. The ability to the ability to find someone with a chance of connecting with someone. And it doesn't even have to be romantic, but just in a space where a person can feel safe enough to let themselves put their shields down,
Hmm.
right? That's like an ideal.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
men aren't like, we're not given that understanding on how to do it because it's like there's so much shit to unlearn from posturing and role playing and mirroring what society taught me
Here.
was that I had to unlearn these frameworks that weren't true. And then there's my own relationship with, well, what do I deserve?
That's a big one.
Right? Because you were talking about unemployment for a prolonged period of time, and it's like what that does to self value.
Right.
And
Right.
then how do I approach someone if I don't even feel like I'm worth
I
the time or the energy?
exactly. It's been so hard. so many men put their entire value in their labor
Yeah.
because they feel that that's all society looks at them for. And I've seen multiple talks where I don't know if you follow this guy, Professor Odie. He's a great, therapist who mostly works with men. And he showed this clip about this talk and this man saying like he's tired of providing. He's tired. He's like, and I feel like men are allowed to be tired. But then this woman said, "But if you don't provide, what are you?" And it's almost like, where's the human?
Hmm.
He's still a human, even if he doesn't provide. If you don't provide, what are you? What's your value? All he was saying, he wasn't even saying he's not going to provide. He was saying, as you said, it comes at a cost. And sometimes that's being tired, emotionally tired, physically tired.
Yeah.
But I think some people think without that, men don't provide much value to a relationship or
Well,
society.
I think because there's a lot of lost guys out there too,
Yeah.
and like the ones that are going down the roads that prioritize shit that detracts from people's dignity and
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is. And it's like that's the arm of society that one, they're paying the price of it because they're
Mhm.
fucking animals in the way that they disrespect people.
Mhm.
But then it's like there is no way to circumvent that. All you can do is elevate out of it. I think for men, it's our responsibility to, when we meet these people, is to have the conversations to
Mhm.
invite them out of their projections, because ultimately that's what I think it is.
Yeah.
It's like this, they've learned this.
Performative
It's all
too.
performative
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
Or they don't even they just don't know.
Exactly.
So
They don't know what they don't know.
how would you approach something like that?
Well, I think we need to. I forgot who coined it. It's instead of calling men out, call them in.
Mhm.
And I always like that. Like, I think when it comes to behavior, we can call it out. But when it comes to the person, you actually want to call them in. Because no one's going, if a person is called out, I think many times they feel like there's no place for me to go. This isn't a place I'm going to learn. This isn't a place I'm going to have any support. But if you call a person in, now don't get me wrong, there's some behavior, like you said, that's reprehensible, and motherfuckers just can't be on the streets harming women and other people. But there are some people, I believe, who are willing to find community and willing to learn, but they need to be in a place like your men's group where there's a lack of judgment. It's a more of a judgment-free zone because they're not used to that. So I would call them in, but then respectfully call out the specific behavior, not the entire person.
Yeah.
The specific behavior, like when you when you say things about the female nature is this and that, I'm like, first, kind of offensive terminology, second, not true, but I'm gonna be nice, like kind with it, and say even say like, where did you learn that, like you just asked.
Yeah.
First say like, where did you hear that first, where did you learn that, what does that mean to you, and try to get someone to deconstruct it. And again, like you said, it's not a woman's. This is us. This is men. We got to police this in ourselves.
Yeah.
But we got to call men in and ask those questions.
So I've been doing this book. I think I told you that I'm writing this book,
Oh, balling.
and it's around the Bible.
Oh, yes, you did tell me.
And in there they talk about the patriarchy, and a lot of people talk about the patriarchy.
Mhm.
And what I've learned through this process of this
Mhm.
book writing is the reason why it's set in that way
Mhm.
is because it shows what happens when men don't show up responsibly,
Mhm.
and the price that everyone around them pays.
Mhm.
So it's like it's not a way to condone it. It's a way to show what happens when men don't show up to do their end of the responsibility.
Mhm.
And the women pay for it, the children pay for it,
Mhm.
communities pay for it.
Mhm.
And that's the call in. The call in would be, as men, as I become more aware of how I haven't shown up,
Yes.
then it's my responsibility to mirror that back to other men when I see them not showing up
Right.
as well.
Each one teach one. Another phrase that I like.
Yeah. And I mean that's it's not an uphill battle either. I thought initially that it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like being able to have a conversation with men isn't so difficult because they're looking for it too.
Many of them are truly looking for it, and
They just don't know it. It's like it's something that's got to
Right.
be discovered. Like
Well,
the gentleman from Tuesday.
yeah. Someone felt like he wasn't alone. It is beautiful
Yeah,
to
that shit was
hear.
crazy. Man. I love
when
that shit.
when you hear someone that you have no idea how long they felt they were alone in their thoughts and their being as a man, and for them to find a space where they're comfortable sharing that and to come to the realization they are not alone is beautiful. And like I said, we are surrounded by an epidemic of broken men. I don't mean broken beyond repair, I don't mean that, but I mean like men who are carrying so much pain, past abuse that they haven't reconciled with, all kinds of abuse, verbal, physical.
yeah.
There's a lot of abuse.
There's a lot of
men.
abuse that happens when we're boys,
Yes.
right? If it's not neglect, it's abuse, and depending on what type of abuse,
Yeah.
how that shows up,
And just traumatic experiences
yeah,
that, like what I told you about, I used to laugh at it, but I thought now it is kind of wild that a grown woman told me when I was 15, you should have bodies by now. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yo,
we spoke about
I'm doing algebra. And it's like, yeah, what I'm just saying it for them. Yeah. That, like, that's wild.
yeah, I remember that.
And that's from a woman. And a lot of men don't understand that patriarchy can be through they're vehicles of it. It can be through a woman. A lot of men think anything a woman says is feminism. No, not true. Just because someone's a woman doesn't mean they are representative of anything. Just because someone's a man doesn't mean they have their own ideologies. We all grew up ingesting a form of patriarchy. All of us. It's been like down to biblical times. It's been here forever. It is a part of us, and that includes women. And these are the types of men that many of them know. Yes, women don't realize that at times. Yes, true. But the response isn't to blame all of women, but a lot of men who don't have anyone give them grace and space, they go down that path.
Yeah,
Especially the internet rabbit hole.
One of the things that, as I've been doing this men's work and diving in, it's like for some people the only path back is shame.
Yes.
And it's like, yo, I get it. I get the anger.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get the abuse. I get the lack of safety. Like I don't grasp it to the degree that any woman does.
That many, exactly.
But what I do know is if there's not a and this, I think this is the men's responsibility.
Right.
Is to call the men in
right.
and give them a
right.
road back.
Yes.
Right. And then
yes.
And then as time progresses, right, exposure back to the communities in which they harmed.
Yes.
Right. What does that look like? I mean, can look a million different ways.
A lot of different ways.
But the call in has to be from a man to say, listen, this is not. Is this what you believe? And then ask them why if they say yes.
Right. Right. Because a lot of people, it's just, I've heard it. It's always been that way. There isn't like a root ideology. Every so often, and that's, I think, some of the problem with these online communities is that it actually can create an ideology.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that can like say, here's why women are the root of all evil. And this is why these bitches need to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now you can spit out an ideology, a script. That's what gets really dangerous. That's when you get motherfuckers writing manifestos and shit. Like, we didn't, like back in the day when I was young, it's not that there wasn't misogyny, but it was like, it had no basis. It had no like root ideology, at least among the kids. And they couldn't, and if there was an adult who had it, like the random motherfucker across the country and that adult, it would take so much for them to communicate. Maybe a chat room over AIM, but they didn't. Now everyone can connect.
Now, and it's very charged.
Yes.
It's very charged. There's a lot of emotion, and understandably so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I didn't think about that. Just how much of an emotional wave comes with it.
But to your earlier point, I'm writing a piece now that says nihilism, including towards men, is not compatible with restorative justice. And it goes to your point, you can't give up on men as a gender, which is a very trending phrase. I give up on men. Well, it's like, okay, I don't think giving up on half the population will ever work. Either way, men shouldn't give up on women. There's no, but you can't call yourself someone who believes in restorative justice and collective liberation
and
then say you give up on men. These things are incompatible.
You can't.
You
Like
can't.
I've been doing a lot of this restorative justice stuff over the last couple of years. I co-facilitate for an organ. Do you mind if I slide this back?
Yeah.
For an organization called Hawkins, and Leah, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. Like, we want people just to be here to hear the conversations, to hear what's said, because these can happen behind closed doors, or we can be on here and talk about what really happens. What are we feeling and why, so that people can understand. But anyway, to come back to the
Restorative justice.
restorative justice, there's transformative and restorative justice. Restorative justice is based on structures, meaning a workplace or a community where someone was harmed and X, Y, and Z, and then they have to come back and fix it within this framework of the ethics of the space. Transformative justice is, let's say you and I are outside, I do some shit and I hurt you. It's between you and I that we're trying to fix this relationship.
We create our own framework.
We create our own framework.
Okay.
And that's the difference between the two, both equally necessary.
Yeah.
The issue is sometimes, like, and I'm going to broad brush this, and I don't like broad brush and shit, generally speaking. Yes, I do. But men don't like to come to the table to say, I fucked up.
I just want to say, you know what is a great term I heard from sociologists for this? On a population level.
I'll sit with that one.
Sit with it, but it's a generalized. But anyway, go ahead.
So it's like men don't like to be called out to say you fucked up, or it was like to have to explain, and it's like, yeah, we do, because it's called accountability. And and for the people closest to me, I think it's most important that I do that, right? Because it's that's how I keep integrity in my relationships,
right?
Without having to not say what needs to be said, ultimately, which builds into resentment and which creates space.
Right. And like men, a lot of people don't understand how much you need when you have a thought. It's good to talk out that thought and just not go straight to the action. Like men talking things out can truly save a lot. And like talking to other men, talking to people who will give them space. And thank you, Ivani. I follow these pages to learn and understand my partner better. I think that's great. I think it does benefit a lot of women to do that. I also, resentment creates space. Yeah, powerful words. I think it is good. This is why I say I don't think a lot of men care about women et al., to use the academic term, meaning as a group. They may care about their woman relationally. They may care about their mother, their sister.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't think a lot of men really, the energy that I see men online, again, these are in multitudes, so it's not everyone, but it is thousands upon thousands of men liking, supporting, retweeting, resharing. I don't see it for the cases of assault. I see more energy towards refuting what women go through than accepting what women go through and say, what every man should know, 1 in 3 women get sexually assaulted. Every man should just know that. Now, we have a shit education system.
I'd say it's higher, personally.
Of course, it's sexual assault. Also, for men, it's underreported.
Yeah.
It's a terribly underreported thing. But I think more men should know, first, education-wise, we should have better sex education, period. But I also think that some men only think of women relationally.
What would you change around sex ed?
Sex education should span between safe sex, consent, but also things like this that show the status of sexual assault. Because I think men don't care that much about the world in which women encounter. I think they care about their own relational women.
Do you think it's care or do you think it's informed?
I think by now with the internet, it's care. I think we've had enough to show that women are generally communicating to us through Me Too, through a lot of things. And I get it. Men are
But what if
kind of
that's
confused about
what if that's
what,
not the experience that they're having?
but it's not about their experience.
Yeah,
It's no, it's not about the man's experience. It's about
because
having the empathy for someone else's experience.
if they're not exposed to it, they don't know about it, right? And the presumption is
Mhm.
there's so much information out there. Why why don't they know about it?
Yeah, I think there are some. I think there are large multitudes of men who see anything about what women go through and think that means they hate me, and they just tune it out, or that's not me. I'm not doing this, so why do I care? Well, I say the same thing when someone says, "Hey, don't say I'm racist. I have a black friend," right? Well, you have to care. I always say your friend is someone else's stranger, right?
Hmm.
So the world in which your black friend encounters involves a lot of danger, involves racism, involves a lot of things. If you don't care about that world that they encounter, that's not really a good friend. You have to care about the world they live in. So I may not be doing the insulting, but I need to kind of understand that,
The idea
yeah,
though is that others are going to be leaning into their belief systems and that they're aware of it.
that they should be like there's multiple layers here. Like yes, they should be made aware through education, but I think that we've seen enough and through the past few years that a lot of men see a pattern of assault, harassment, things that are high profile, but also if they listen to women who are on their social networks,
How did you learn that you needed to be able to do all this?
to me it's empathy. Empathy means if I'm going to date
How
women,
did you get that?
I I don't have a specific moment. I just have it. To me it connects. If I'm going to date women, I have to care about women, not that woman.
Yeah, but what made that
Women,
connection? What made that
it
connection for
just
you?
made sense. I didn't parse it out until like recently, where I thought about that. Not there are men I believe who truly care and want to protect the women relational to them,
Mm.
but outside of that relational, they may have different views.
Who taught you that?
I deduced it myself. I don't think anyone taught me it. But if you want to know some of the inspiration I had just in general,
Hmm.
like I told you, like Bell Hooks and The Will to Change, I think is a great book that all men especially should read, where she talks about how we don't accept alternatives to masculinity, even though
What
we ask for it.
what motivated you to find that book?
So that is because my aunt is a sex therapist and an art therapist. So she, when I was young, like 19, already was giving me this book.
So you had influence from the outside of women's experience.
I did have influence and I listened to and believed.
Yeah.
It there was never something in me that said, "Oh, 1 in 3 women are sex." No, that's a lie. But I think there's a reflex within men that all these things are all these statistics, these reports, it's about hating men
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
about it's not me. So if it's not me, why should I care, be involved? And to me, it's part of caring about any individual women in your life is caring about women as a whole.
Have you heard men say that outright?
No, because a lot of them aren't going to have. They're not going to straight up say I don't. What they'll say instead is constantly I don't believe her. What they'll say instead is like here's
Like they don't trust.
like it'll be constantly just even if they have a girlfriend that they care about and love, it'll be I just don't trust women. I just don't trust women are out here lying and women are out here against men. And
So do you think this is more of a trust thing than it is a value thing?
I I think that
Because
a lot of
if I can't trust you, why would I respect you?
but why would you want the extrapolation of an entire gender based on a few experiences that you wouldn't want for yourself as a man.
Absent information.
Yeah, but even just the concept, I would be upset, and I am upset, and other men are upset
Well,
that
not-
all men are thrown in to certain things
Yeah.
sometimes. So why would I do that to women?
Well, not everyone is born with generosity either,
Yeah,
right? So
Exactly.
it's like it's like if there's not an ability to see it
yeah,
out of just the absence of sight, they don't even know it exists. All they know is I can't trust women because social media is telling me
experiences.
something's influencing that perspective. So
Mhm.
because I've not dissected this far,
Mhm.
so it's like, so if trust is absent because whoever's governing the other side, however they're being governed, is however they're being governed. These people have had the influence from the adults around them, from social media, from
Mhm.
entertainment, and they're feeding off the narratives of don't trust. And the other ones are I need status, right? So like this is like lower awareness perspectives,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, at what point does a man say, maybe I just need to choose better?
Yeah, I think choosing better is something that is left out a lot of these conversations because
Choosing better behavior as well.
choosing better behavior, but also a lot of times I'll straight up say many times that I think we should talk about the partners we choose, and I think it does matter. And I think
Why we're choosing.
yeah, it does matter why we're choosing them. But a lot of times we only focus that conversation on women and not men. Men can choose better. Men are many times following it, like my friend says, and I've seen online. Men are thinking of more about what other men think more than gay men, because a lot of the status and manosphere and all that is about showing a level of impressing others.
Status and image.
Yeah. So what will this person say? What will that not do I feel whole and do I feel an intimate connection with this person that's valuable? That sounds soft. It's like it's about who can I stunt on with this person that validates me as a man, and to me that's an insecurity.
Yeah.
Date someone based on the relational qualities between each other, that you treat each other well. You're attracted to each other on different levels. You enjoy their company, you care about each other, like not what rando 57 online is going to say when I post a picture of this baddie, if he's going to think she's a baddie. Like I'm not thinking about what Joe in fucking Wisconsin thinks when I'm going out on a date. I'm thinking, how do I like her? I don't care what anybody
So
else
what do
says.
you when you're connecting with someone, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that makes you say yes?
For women, or for just a homie, like like a friend?
Well, that's what's the difference?
Well, my orientation
Mm-hmm.
is the difference, but I agree that there's a lot of crossover because in both cases,
Are you trying to be romantic with every woman you meet?
not with every, of course not, but if it's a date or if I find attraction in a person, yes, of some kind. Attraction's multifaceted, as Prince, the short king extraordinaire, said, "Sexy just is." And I live by that. I think all forms for me of women can be sexy, tall, short, curvy, and so my spectrum of physical attraction is like wide. I'm not saying there aren't people I'm unattracted to, of course, but if we're talking about like layers of connection, one of the most important things to me is if someone is open-minded to different experiences, because I think a lot of people kind of look at finding a partner like a checklist.
Mm. Yeah.
And I understand that's a natural human reaction to some extent, but I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like there's a spectrum of things that, like, if you're going to put different points on a spectrum of compatibility, it's like that instead of a checkbox, like binary.
Yeah.
For those who know terminology like binary versus analog, you know, binary is like yes, no, this person, whatever, is outdoors enough for me, which tells you nothing about if they're a good partner. But what would matter, for example, so let's take that example. What would matter more, because I'm not a hiking, camping dude, but what would matter more I would hope to that person is that I'm willing to because it matters to them. Like, I don't care if a woman loves baseball the way I do. I would care if she thinks my interest in baseball is stupid because I love it. If she loved something else, aside from it being something that is so fringe that to me is stupid, and then we wouldn't be compatible. But that's why I'm saying an open mind, because I don't care about so many things. I don't care about economic stats. I don't care about if you like exactly the same things. I care that you would be open minded to the things I'm passionate about, and that I'll be open minded to things you're passionate about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Now, what about you? Because you know, we've been part of different relationship models. Most of mine have been monogamous, but to be fair, I've also had experiences where I casually date around, which is different than poly, where there's established
Well,
roles.
to some people, it's the same.
To some people, it's the same shit. But you look like, what do you look for in that dynamic? Because I'm just thinking you could have complementary kind of relationships where one person can maybe give you more of one thing emotionally, physically on one level, and one not. But yeah, what's your preferences, thoughts there?
So when it comes to poly, I've been doing it now successfully for like the last 8 years. Successfully-ish. Like I'm not dead. They haven't killed me.
Yeah.
No, but so what that is for me is I have committed time and investments and interests and life purposes with the ones in which I'm in relationship with. I have Kat and then I have Natalie. Natalie, I'm in a power exchange relationship. She's my slave. I'm her master. Essentially, the agreement to that is she helps me achieve my life goals. I help her achieve her life goals, and we support each other to the best of our abilities. I look at it more as master student, but
Yeah, because some people are going to think that's a strong word. So
Yeah,
you could explain like
so.
what, yeah.
The idea is commitment, and the agreement also is I have the final word in decision making, right? And what something like that looks like is sometimes there's a hard decision to be made, and if she freezes on it, we sit and we talk about it, and she trusts my judgment enough to walk her through that and to give her an answer should she need it. And that's on when it comes down to her career, to asking for things out of life, like how does she pursue things that she desires, and when she needs the support or the motivation, hey, listen, you need to call your mother, call her
Yeah.
by like. So that's what that looks like. Now,
How did you come to those terms though? Because like people like me are not going to be experienced with what leads to two people agreeing to that and sustaining that.
yeah. So the way that worked was 20 years of infidelity, and really not wanting to be that person anymore.
Okay.
Because in that time, truth be told, I did cheat. I cheated a lot because I was afraid to ask for what I wanted. I was afraid to be real. I was like I had my own desires that I would just rather ask for permission, for forgiveness than permission.
Oh,
And
that's a big one.
yeah, no, and that shit caused a lot of chaos in my life. This is all new to me in the sense of language and being able to say it the way I'm saying it now.
That's for a lot
But
of men.
it's taken me years to refine what happened so that I can say exactly what happened to the best of my ability. And so, on my last breakup, uh, it was a poly situation, but when she became my primary, we never spoke about the details of it. We just rolled into it and said, "Fuck it, let's see what happens."
Okay.
And that's not the way I do relationships. But it's what I did because I didn't know any better. So all in this time though, I've been doing professional domination, meaning I help people learn language that helps them best describe who they are internally and how they want to connect in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And I do counseling through that around people's relationship with sexuality and power. How do I ask for what I want in life? So I was doing that work and I'm watching people grow in their personal lives and their professional lives. And I couldn't do it in my personal relationship because of fear and shame. So when that relationship ended, uh, I got together with Kat, and I was able to what felt like starting off on a new slate, clean slate, that I could say what I mean what I say, because the way that other relationship ended was not good emotionally. Like I was in a really dark place,
Mm-hmm.
and then the fallout happened, and it was a whole fucking mess. But what I swore to myself is I'm not gonna lie and cheat anymore. I'm going to say what I need,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to allow it to land how it lands, and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Because the price of not saying what I needed cost too much.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I've had hiccups with
Mm-hmm.
it. Like I've not bat 1,000 in 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not necessarily about partners, but it's about needs, right?
Yeah.
Just overlooking shit that I needed, right? So it wasn't necessarily about other partners, but so Cat was my foundation to start practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
I met Natalie 5 years into being with Cat, and when we met, we had both talked about what she was seeking. I spoke about briefly what I was seeking, and it was around the same type of agreement. Let me support you, I'll support you, support me, and we'll be real with each other. But when we met, that conversation was, I told her, I'm going to speak to you in a way no one's ever spoken to you before.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be straight up, truthful, and transparent, and I expect the same in return.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't do that, and if I feel like you're not telling me the truth, this is not going to work. And she was like, all right, bet, let's do it. And so that was the agreement from the jump. And it's worked because what she needed was a place to be truthful, that she wasn't going to get penalized for saying what was real. My position was I get to not have to carry and manage anything. I just have to show up, and you just have to show up. And
That's beautiful.
it allows for leadership. I mean, there's an age gap as well of 20 years, 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized there, because I made a TikTok video months before I met her
I know.
that said I would never fuck around with a 20-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
And God was like, here you go, right? And what I realized is I couldn't be for her at 27, who I am at 47.
Right. Sometimes these things are compatible. We do need to obviously discuss where there are dangerous power dynamics in the real world, but there can be
Everywhere.
accepted and everywhere, but there can be accepted ones, and that there could be very consensual uh, power dynamics that are agreed upon and healthy for both people.
Yeah.
And we need to show, actually, I think showing the difference is really important, because then it will help people to identify which is like predatory and
Yeah.
which is not, and which is two people actually agreeing and maybe being better for each other at different stages in their life.
The easiest way I would say it is if a relationship helps you, makes you feel like you're growing,
Yeah.
like you're expanding,
Right.
like you look forward to stuff, and like it's not a chore,
Yeah.
then it's fucking fantastic.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have hiccups and arguments and
Right.
disconnections and shit like that, but that's life, right? It's like how do we navigate that? But if the relationship makes a person feel smaller
Right.
or less than,
Yeah.
it's like, or negated, it's
Mhm.
like that's
No.
you got to look at.
And unfortunately, that is the dynamic that of all women of all ages find themselves in, because, like I said, Bell Hooks, in a different book, All About Love, wrote that power, not power, but yes, about power, abuse and love have coexisted in many households. And it creates, for many people growing up, this dynamic that this is all one big like cocktail. These two things are always connected.
Yeah.
That there's going to be abusive moments and there's going to be loving moments, and they're going to come from the same person. And then it creates this wild shit where a lot of people aren't used to something where there isn't that belittling, there isn't that diminishing. And unfortunately, then it becomes
It's
kind
a
of
shock to
weird.
the system.
It's a shock to, exactly. It's like taking something that you've never had before, and it's a shock to the system. So I agree with you. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. Are you growing? But of course, also, like we said, are you safe? And safe can mean many things. You know, Grace, who actually introduced us, I remember, wrote safety can be not just physical safety, but also, you know, emotional safety, to say something and not be belittled. Like, let's say, let's say a woman you're dating is saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of getting this certificate, this degree," and her partner was to say, "No, you're not smart enough for that."
Yeah.
Like no, you're
You're
like
extinguishing hope.
you're extinguishing hope. You're belittling intelligence. But some people like that's par for the course for
It's
a
the
lot of
standard, yeah.
for a lot of women to hear that type of shit from men, and it's not normal. But unfortunately, like that is so normalized, like for men to be that nasty to women, and it's just wild to me. But unfortunately, I think sometimes our discourse is ahead of our practice. I think that's the way I can put it. So I think a lot of the discourse is great about better men and better relationships, but the practice and experience right now for men in the real world has a gap. If you get what I mean.
So yes, I understand the gap. What comes to mind is the behavior can be changed without the relationship.
Of course, yeah,
Meaning, if they're an asshole to their partner, they may be assholes to other people,
yeah, definitely.
or they may not be showing up
Hmm.
responsibly in other spaces,
Hmm.
right? So it's like the person who shows up to a job interview at 2:05 when it was at 2 o'clock,
Hmm.
right? There's no ounce of personal responsibility
Hmm.
and accountability in there, right? So along with it, I think is a form of mentorship that's missing,
Yes.
where again, and it comes back to men being able to hold other men accountable to say, hey, if you said you were going to change, then why are you still doing this dumb shit?
Right.
I mean, that's how I would talk, but not necessarily. Not
Some,
everyone would speak that
but
way.
some men need to hear that message in different ways.
Yeah.
There are men probably who that's the language that they grew up with that is going to be better than saying like, why has your emotional availability not taken the turn and matured? But no, sometimes you need to meet people. This is why we started, let's not be trash, with my co-founder in 2018, because we're like, we need to address men, but also the way men are being sought after in many ways is not productive. Like, like you said, shame doesn't draw people in.
Yeah.
Shame, and I agree that some behavior might deserve it, but if you actually care about restorative justice and change,
Yeah.
it's not going to come through shame. That may be a part of their journey, knowing that a behavior is shame, but there must be this thing that says that the human, the person, the man is redeemable, can change, and can mentor others. Like, we need more men in community saying, look, here are my mistakes, and here's how I want you to learn from them. Not this, not like the scared straight
I
bullshit.
would say
Yeah.
different. Here are my mistakes. What are yours?
And also that, yeah. And also, how does this identify with what? Yeah, exactly. But we don't have that type. And as ironic as it sounds, to an extent I blame social media, because I think social media created a lot of communities, but I don't think a lot of them are not good. Like, there are some, and thankfully we're creating some that are online and good, but there's many that are so superficial and that lack the personal connection and mentorship, and are just about clout, and are just about likes and follows, and not about actually helping men. Um, I feel in some ways we regressed in this way. Even when I think of the 90s and when I was a kid in 2000s, I still feel like there were at least a few more, as we say, OGs on the block
Mhm.
who would impart. Like, I remember being near the library, like when I was 17, and a guy talking to a guy, and he was saying, you're a good mentor. You should try this. You should talk to other young men. And I was only 17. But he said that just to be a decent dude, a stranger. And like, I think that's a lot less common to have men on the street, not being crazy, but like talking to other men, engaging with other men in both their positives, and also saying sometimes, be that guy that's saying, no, you're doing stupid shit. I know you're a good kid, and I don't want you to end up here. My friend Olivier, who I do the podcast with, he actually does something great. He's in a public school in the Bronx, like I grew up in, and so he teaches, and he goes to the kid sometimes, specifically the boys, and says, "But aren't you a good kid?" And then it's hard for the boy to say, "No." I'm not a good. No, I'm not a good kid. It's a hard question to refute.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Are you sure you're not?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And a lot of times it kind of because
Diffuses.
what I told him is, you may be the only specifically man in this boy's life that assumes the best. Not that I heard wild shit at 95. You're gonna end up in jail. You're gonna end up a criminal. You're gonna end up like no, like I get it. Kids can be annoying and wild as fuck, but you should never tell it. That's a child, and you should never tell the child like their fate is decided like that.
Yeah.
But
Give me a
so
second.
a lot of these kids, especially boys, grow up hearing those messages, especially when they act out and don't have a term you and I use a lot that's important for men: emotional regulation. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for everyone watching. For those joining, this is part of the Liberated Men's Group, and I'm Evan, and I'm here with Joshua, Master Joshua.
So I couldn't
Yeah.
go live on my Liberated Men profile, so I said, you know
Yeah,
what? We're
yeah, so
having a
you
good
can do that.
conversation, and I got 2 minutes left. Can I turn that off? Oh, I got 2 minutes left
For Instagram,
for
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to get on here and talk about just have a conversation between two men,
Right.
and what do we believe? Where do we sit on certain perspectives and experiences, and just to have it so other people can hear, because it's like this can happen, and it does. So thank you guys for dropping in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick it back off when it actually get a wrap soon, because we've been on this for an hour.
Yeah,
But
whatever you
we're
want to
gonna
do, I'm
keep chatting.
chilling. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. And what's your Instagram?
Yeah, so I'm Master Nardi, MaStronardi, and it starts with an underscore. And yeah, and on Twitch, same thing, except underscore at the end. So yeah, thank you all for joining and listening, and we'll do this more often.
Yeah, thank you guys.